Hello and welcome to Carved in Stone, where I pick a topic and select my Mount Rushmore of that topic. So basically, my top four. But I will mention more than four selections. Lists, of course, are subjective, and four is narrowing it down quite a bit. So today I'll go over a few games that fall just short of my mountain. I'm your host, Shawn Chabam, and on today's episode, to get you ready for Super Bowl XXIII, I will be giving you my Mount Rushmore of Super Bowls, the four best Super Bowls in my lifetime that I'm old enough to remember. Now, two things. One, I'm recording this in November of 2025, so I won't be giving you any insight or prediction on the upcoming Super Bowl. I may do a bonus point 0.5 episode on it. I probably will, but I'm not going to speculate on a game that's 2.5 months away. Two, to avoid complete bias of having both Eagles Super Bowl wins to date up there, I am adding this criteria. The game had to end in a 10-point victory or less. For me and for any Eagles fan, Super Bowl 59 was a fantastic Super Bowl. But if I try to look at it through the lens of a neutral fan, I understand a complete beatdown isn't always the most fun to watch. I'm trying to pick the best games if you were just looking for a great game. As I alluded to a moment ago, per usual, I am limiting this to Super Bowls that occurred in my lifetime that I can remember. Born in 1981, the first Super Bowl I really recall watching was Super Bowl XXIII between the San Francisco 49ers and Cincinnati Bengals. So forget Super Bowls 1 to 22. You won't see Super Bowl III and Broadway Joe on this list. I just don't think games I didn't witness are ones that I should be talking about or breaking down. You know, people who watched them can tell you until they're blue in the face how great a game was that you didn't witness, and you can even go ahead and watch a recording. But for me, I like remembering how I felt in the moment. I'm not trying to discredit anything from Super Bowls 1 to 22. I just want that personal feeling to pull from. So I'm going to focus on the ones I've actually seen live and remember, Super Bowls 23 to 59. All right, I forced myself not to do this twice, but you had to know it was coming once. Super Bowl 52 is the first on the mountain. Philadelphia Eagles 41, New England Patriots 33. The Birds' first Lombardi trophy. That still feels so good to say. The Eagles were underdogs in every postseason game that season, despite being the number one seed in the NFC. This was because quarterback Carson Wentz, who was on the verge of becoming league MVP, went down late in the season with a knee injury, and backup quarterback and journeyman Nick Foles was forced to take the snaps. Well, Foles delivered big time. This game was much more high scoring than I expected it to be, and really anybody I think expected it to be. I remember predicting a 25 to 23 Eagles win, a total of 48 points. The teams combined for 74. Foles ended up winning the MVP award for the game. This Super Bowl was a fireworks show. The two teams combined for 1,151 yards of total offense, still a Super Bowl record. Incredible. The Eagles struck first, built a lead, and then absorbed a Patriots counterattack. Both teams missed an extra point, and how about what happened right before the half? The Philly special. On 4th and goal at the 1, the Eagles decided to go for it while already up 3 points, 15 to 12. I was really on the fence about this one. I knew going up by 10 would be huge, but this was prior to the days of the brotherly shove, and that 1 yard was nowhere near as much of a gimme as it seems to be now. After a timeout, Foles started to kill the play, or so we thought. It was a dummy kill. Jason Kelce direct snapped to Corey Clement, who pitched to third string tight end Trey Burton, who found Foles in the end zone for 6 points. Man, did I go through the emotions during that play. I thought the snap was a botch, and I'm just going, oh no, with every player touching the ball. Until Foles caught it, and I lost my mind like every other Eagles fan on the planet. By halftime, Philly was up 22-12. In the second half, the Patriots came back. Brady carved up the field, and Rob Gronkowski hauled in a touchdown pass. But the Eagles were hot on offense in the second half, too. Foles kept finding guys. On one crucial drive, he hit Nelson Aguilar, then Zach Ertz, then threw the touchdown pass to Corey Clement, who got in by the skin of his teeth. Aguilar, who is the subject of a lot of criticism from Philadelphia media and fans, was actually dynamite in this game. He hauled in 9 passes for 84 yards on the grandest stage, and this is while he was battling pneumonia. The Patriots did end up briefly taking a lead 33-32 in the fourth quarter. The Eagles, whose defense was spectacular all season, couldn't get to Brady until late in the game. Zach Ertz caught what would be the game-winning TD with 2 minutes and 21 seconds left in the fourth. Then the Eagles' defense finally did it. Brandon Graham sacked Brady, who fumbled, and Derek Barnett recovered for the Birds. They hit another 3. The Patriots had a late drive, but failed to score. When the clock hit 0, the scoreboard read, Eagles 41, Patriots 33. Foles was named Super Bowl MVP, as I said before, and not just for his arm. He threw for 373 yards and 3 touchdowns, and caught a touchdown pass. Meanwhile, Brady threw for an insane 505 yards in a losing effort. For the Eagles, this wasn't just a win, it was redemption. It was history. They had previously lost Super Bowl XXXIX to the Patriots. I know that it wasn't the same team, but for the fans, it was certainly redemption. After 52 years, this was finally the Eagles' moment. If you were wondering why I put Brandon Graham's head on the mountain instead of Nick Foles, it's because as far as I'm concerned, the strip sack was the biggest play in Eagles history. I, like most Eagles fans, loved the Philly special, but I think people forget the Birds lost the lead after that. The strip sack, to me, was what sealed the deal. After the Philly special, I thought the Eagles were going to win the Super Bowl. After the strip sack, I knew it. After that sack, I was jumping around the house, screaming, the Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl! The Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl! My oldest was 9 months old, and he was sleeping. I was doing my best not to wake him. Now, Foles 100% deserved the MVP of that game, and deserved all the credit he received. I mean, the defense overall didn't have a great night. The Pats put up 33 points. Brady threw for over 500 yards, like I said a minute ago. But BG came through at the right moment. I'm just saying that as a singular play, the strip sack was bigger than the Philly special, given the circumstances of the game at the time. Had the Philly special not worked, the Eagles would have had a smaller lead than they did going into the half, but still would have had the lead. The Lombardi Trophy stays in the Keystone State for reveal number 2. How about Super Bowl XLIII? Pittsburgh Steelers 27, Arizona Cardinals 23. The first half played out fairly tight, but the biggest moment came with just seconds left before halftime. Arizona was at the goal line threatening to take the lead. Instead, Steelers linebacker James Harrison jumped a route, picked off Kurt Warner, and rumbled 100 yards the other way for a touchdown as the clock hit 0. It's one of the most shocking swings in Super Bowl history, a 14-point flip before heading into the locker room for that long Super Bowl halftime that completely changed the tone of the game. Fast forward to the fourth quarter, and this one starts becoming a classic. Pittsburgh was in control most of the night, but Arizona refused to go away. The Cardinals started heating up. Their defense forced a safety. Then Kurt Warner hit Larry Fitzgerald on a 64-yard touchdown over the middle, and suddenly Arizona had the lead. In a matter of minutes, the entire game flipped again, and it felt like the underdogs might actually pull it off. And this is where Super Bowl XLIII became legendary. With just over 2 minutes left, Ben Roethlisberger led the Steelers on their final drive, and it ended with one of the greatest catches in Super Bowl history. Santonio Holmes, back corner of the end zone, tiptoeing the sideline with just enough space to drag both feet while leaning out of bounds. An absolute masterpiece of concentration and body control. That touchdown put the Steelers back in front 27-23, a lead they would not relinquish. Arizona got one last shot, but Pittsburgh's defense was up to the task, and the Steelers became the first franchise to win 6 Super Bowls. This game really had everything you want in a championship. Huge momentum swings, unbelievable individual plays, a dramatic comeback, a clutch game-winning drive, and a finish that kept you tense until the very last snap. It wasn't a blowout, it wasn't predictable, it was pure chaos, pure drama, and pure football. That's why Super Bowl 43 absolutely deserves a spot on this particular mountain. Next, subjectively, I would say this was the most thrilling end in Super Bowl history. Super Bowl 34, St. Louis Rams 23, Tennessee Titans 16. One common theme throughout these games is that Kurt Warner plays quarterback for one of the teams in 3 of them. Spoiler alert, this one right here is the only one in which he was victorious. We have one more to go in which Kurt Warner played quarterback. Yes, I said St. Louis Rams. 1 yard. Yeah, it was that game. It was even referenced in the film Castaway. What an incredible Super Bowl. St. Louis jumped out to an early lead, relying on field goals. They put 3 field goals through the uprights in the first half and tacked on a touchdown in the third quarter to build a 16-0 advantage. Meanwhile, Tennessee's offense sputtered, but they'd eventually come to life. In the fourth quarter, they mounted the biggest comeback in Super Bowl history at the time, eventually tying the game at 16 with just over 2 minutes to play. Then, Rams quarterback Kurt Warner connected with wide receiver Isaac Bruce for a 73-yard touchdown to retake the lead 23-16 with 1 minute and 48 seconds remaining in regulation. The Titans got one last chance. With 6 seconds left and the ball at the Rams' 10-yard line, they ran one final play. Titans QB Steve Air McNair threw a pass to Kevin Dyson. Rams linebacker Mike Jones stopped him 1 yard shy of the goal line as the clock expired, while Dyson damn near pulled his arm out of its socket trying to extend the ball to cross the plane. That moment is often called the tackle or 1 yard short and has become arguably the most iconic ending in Super Bowl history. Warner was named MVP after passing for 414 yards, a Super Bowl record at the time, as well as 2 touchdowns. And the Rams' victory marked their first Super Bowl title. In fact, it was also the last time a Super Bowl was played by 2 teams both seeking their first Super Bowl title. The Rams have won again since then. The Titans haven't even been back to the show. Let's do a few honorable mentions. Here's something I bet you didn't even think I was capable of. I'm going to give kudos to one of the teams I despise the most. And believe it or not, this was so close to making today's mountain. I actually had a version of the mountain with their QB's head on it. But then I remembered the Steelers-Cardinals Super Bowl, and that one was just better. This one also had an amazing clutch catch at the end of the game. The first honorable mention, Super Bowl 42, New York Giants 17, New England Patriots 14. Not the flashiest score here, that's relatively low scoring, but there were a few key points and moments making this almost a Rushmore Bowl. The Patriots were looking to close out a perfect season. They went 16-0 in the regular season and were heavily favored going into the game. Tom Brady was undefeated in the Super Bowl at this time, and the Patriots had just narrowly beaten the Giants to finish the perfect regular season a few weeks prior. I'll be honest, I thought Brady and the Pats were just going to shred this Giants team. The Giants were a wildcard team with a 10-6 regular season. I expected the bright lights of the Super Bowl to be too much for Eli Manning. Since it didn't make the mountain, I won't break down the whole game. What I will say is I have always credited David Tyree with the best catch in football history. The helmet catch was insane. I know there have been more aesthetically pleasing catches and probably more difficult ones, but this one was in the biggest moment possible, and that multiplies the amazingness of it. Eli Manning was almost whistled down on that play. He was able to escape the clutches of the Patriots D, and it's been debated since then, but I think the officials made the right call not blowing that play dead. Another honorable mention is the first big game to go into overtime, Super Bowl 51. New England Patriots 34, Atlanta Falcons 28. We're all familiar with the Falcons blowing the 28-3 lead. I'm not going to break this down. I'm just going to explain why it doesn't make the mountain. As thrilling as the end of the game was, like I said, the first Super Bowl to go into overtime, at pretty much all points in time, somebody was dominating this game. It wasn't consistently back and forth the way I like to think of a great game being. It was one team dominating the entire time. The dominating team just changed. I'm going to give two more very quickly. Another OT game, Kansas City Chiefs 25, San Francisco 49ers 22 in Super Bowl 58, and Niners again, but a win, 49ers 20, Cincinnati Bengals 16 in Super Bowl 23, the first Super Bowl I ever watched. Not the first Super Bowl I ever watched, excuse me, the first Super Bowl I remember watching. San Fran put up 14 in the fourth quarter after only scoring 6 in the first 3 quarters to secure Joe Montana's third ring. Finally, you had to know this was coming and you just didn't know what game. I already eliminated 51 in the honorable mentions, but what Super Bowl Mount Rushmore would be complete without Tom Brady's head on it? The final pick is Super Bowl 36, New England Patriots 20, St. Louis Rams 17. The Rams are the only team to get 2 games on this mountain, although I'm sure they'd like to forget about this one. This was the Super Bowl that kicked off the Patriots dynasty and the GOAT's first Lombardi trophy. I'll just get this out of the way. This is about the Super Bowl, not about how they got there. So you can complain all you want about the tuck rule. It doesn't change how good this Super Bowl was. People forget, and I definitely did, that this was not Brady's rookie season. It was his second year. He, of course, came in for the injured Drew Bledsoe early in the season and showed the world what he had, hoisting the Lombardi trophy for the Pats' first Super Bowl win in their existence. From the outset, the Rams struck first with a 50-yard field goal, opening the scoring 3-0. But in the second quarter, the Patriots defense made a major play when cornerback Ty Law intercepted Rams quarterback Kurt Warner and returned it 47 yards for a touchdown, giving New England a lead. Just before halftime, Brady connected on an 8-yard touchdown to David Patton, making it 14-3 Patriots at the long break. In the third quarter, New England added a 37-yard field goal to push the margin to 17-3. The Rams, however, were the greatest show on turf and managed a dramatic charge in the fourth quarter. Warner ran in a 2-yard touchdown, then later hit Ricky Prohl for a 26-yard touchdown with just a minute 30 remaining to tie the game at 17. Something that people forget about one of those drives is that there was actually a defensive touchdown by New England called back on a defensive holding. Bucky Jones scooped up a Warner fumble and returned it 97 yards, but the flag negated it. The Rams were able to make it 17-14 after that. Had the fumble counted, it would have made the score 24-7 Patriots and likely would have been an insurmountable lead. I haven't rewatched that play, but I do remember watching it live and thinking it was a bad call. After the Rams added another 3, the game was tied, and Brady orchestrated a calm drive in the final minute with completions to Troy Brown and others managing to get the Pats into field goal range. Adam Vinatieri drilled the 48-yard game winner with time expiring. Now, people like to downplay Brady's significance in pretty much every Super Bowl, but especially in this one, being that Vinatieri kicked a long field goal. Brady only had 145 yards passing. The Patriots defense forced 3 turnovers. You can discredit him all you want. Football is a team game, and his team did what they needed to do to win. Also, I don't think it was a fluke that Brady won 6 more rings after this. No one's telling you to like him, at least I'm not, but I do think you should respect the guy. This podcast is not affiliated with, endorsed, or sponsored by the NFL, any NFL organization, player, or any of their properties. Images are sourced from Wikimedia Commons under appropriate licensing. And that does it for this episode of Carved in Stone, ladies and germs. To review my Mount Rushmore of Super Bowls from Super Bowl 23 to 59, Super Bowl 52, Eagles over Patriots, Super Bowl 43, Steelers over Cardinals, Super Bowl 34, St. Louis Rams over Titans, and Super Bowl 36, Patriots over St. Louis Rams. Thanks for watching. I know there are plenty of mountain-worthy Super Bowls to choose from. Mountains looking extremely different from this could easily still be great. I mean, I didn't go with the wide right game. As much as I hate them, I didn't include any of the Dallas Cowboys victories in the 90s. Not because of bias, but because with the exception of the Super Bowl against the Steelers, they were all blowouts. And I spared myself from reliving the trauma of the 2 Eagles losses in the big game since I've been able to remember. Both 3-point defeats. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. I will see you next time. Go Birds!